What's going on, everybody? This is Ketchup here, and Mavado is officially in Mortal Kombat 1 as a playable cameo. It's been less than 24 hours since this cameo hit the shelves, and there's already been some interesting tech discovered. Before I get into any of that, though, I want to jump into people that are thinking, look, this cameo's new, I don't really know what I'm doing, and things feel a bit awkward to pull off, so what do I do here? So let me go over the basics of this cameo first, an idea over what everything's doing and why it works the way it does, and then end the video by talking about some character-specific tech as things in the meta are already developing. So the first thing I have to talk about is the lack of HP. Mavado takes away easily the highest amount of health, 100 to be exact, so Scorpion becomes a 900 character, as is the case with most characters, and it definitely enforces somewhat of a glass cannon idea with this cameo, because he's taking away a lot of health, but does give you some rather aggressive options to compensate for that. How useful that's going to be, I think, really remains to be seen. However, you have to keep that in mind. So Quan and Natara, Geras, these characters are going to have significantly less health, whereas a character like Havoc or a Shao isn't going to worry too much because, well, they have lots of health anyway. Okay, so let's talk about the first move, the one and only summon that Mavado has. It's a recreation of Cabal's Nomad Touch from Deception, so the move where you sort of pull them in and bounce off them, it's here, and it's okay for what it does. It does do a little bit of damage to the user, so it does 20 damage to you and 80 damage to the opponent. Mavado appears behind them, and that is what initiates the attack, so it's quicker than you might expect for a full screen attack. Think of it similar to a striker handcuffs, for example. But the reality is it does do damage to you. Mavado is already taking health away from you, and this attack will hurt you additionally. It can end the round if you don't have the health. Mustard and myself got a match extended yesterday on stream because he used it having less than 20 health to work with, so you got to keep that in mind. It's not just a basic attack though, it is actually plus on block. The amount of plus frames varies. I think it might just be travel time or distance or something like that, but this is plus on block should it come out on block. Certain attacks that have a massive amount of block stun on their own will kind of jail into this, but if it does get blocked and you're close, you do get something, because it's plus enough that you can kind of guarantee most attacks up close. But that's kind of all there is to it. You can use this attack to knock the opponent into some obstacles. An Ice Clone, for example, will work here, but it's not the kind of thing you can super rely on. Right, so let's talk about his combos. This is very much a combo cameo more than anything else. And he has two different cameo attacks that work as an ambush that only work while the opponent is in a comboable airborne state. You had the forward cameo, which I just demonstrated, and up cameo, which follows the same rules, but it's a very different attack. So you've got two different options. You've got one that Mavado appears behind them and hits them towards you, and up in cameo, where he lands on top, and it's a set kind of vertical juggle. Now this animation of the juggle, that animation plays no matter how late in a combo Mavado hits them. So you can use that to your advantage for certain situations to get more juggles, more combos than you would otherwise have. The fact is, they only work on hit, and the question is, which one do I go for? It entirely depends on the kind of launch you're after. So if I'm going for a jump kick, for example, you can do the up cameo for this and get it to launch, but because it does involve up, you do find yourself jumping by accident sometimes. If you do the forward cameo from something like this, much more consistent, and you can turn that into whatever combo you wish. So this is kind of the general rule. Most of the combos you do will likely involve the up cameo because it just works so well for him, because they have that set launch animation, and the biggest thing to note is that Mavado's vertical version is much faster. It's 8 frames on startup, so most juggles that you hit, the up version will hit them, almost guaranteed, because it's really fast. Doesn't matter whether you're mid-screen, doesn't matter whether you're in the corner, it's nice and reliable. One trick I will teach you immediately is kind of a, some will call it an option select, others definitely won't, because these ambush moves only come out on hit. If you're looking for the combo and that's it, there is no reason to not just input the cameo attack. So if I'm doing a jump kick, for example, and I want to get a combo from it, I'm just going to input forward cameo regardless of whether this is hit or not, because if the opponent's blocking, you'll notice it doesn't come out. Nothing happens. So if you're looking for the extension, you may as well just buffer it. Because if it hits, you get the combo. And if it's blocked, I mean, you're safe anyway. Obviously, unless they anti-air or up-block or something. But you get the idea. There's no reason not to just buffer this. So that is something you can do quite consistently. Rain's low back 2, for example. You can hit that and input one of the cameos and get nothing on block and a launch on hit. It works the exact same way. So the combos that it extends... really sky's the limit. I've got Scorpion as the example here because his new string, forward 3-4, it's not a very good string, to be honest. You, on your own, can only do back forward 2. I have seen players pair him with Janet because Janet gives you extenders. Now Mavado gives you an extender. And all of a sudden, the forward 3-4 becomes a much bigger combo. Very, very simple, very, very easy. You've broke 400 damage for 1 bar because of Mavado, and because the cooldowns of these moves are quite generous, something like this string, by the time Scorpion has finished his combo, pay attention to the top left of your screen. By the time my back forward 2 would have connected, we almost have Mavado back. So meter-wise, going for 1 juggle with a character that is pretty generous with how long their combos take, Mavado can regenerate quite efficiently. So these two combos, they turn things into launches that otherwise do not launch. The 2-1-4, for example, is an exact same situation. And this is just, you know, merely one example of many. A string or an attack that otherwise just knocks the opponent on the floor. Now, Mavado can very reliably and easily turn them into full combos. And that's more than you were getting before, so for a character like Scorpion, that's actually pretty decent for him. Okay, let's talk about the push block. This is Mavado exclusive, and it is tied to flawless blocks. It's quite expensive in 2 bars of meter and half of your cameo gauge. However, should you flawless block something, if I can get my timing, because I'm not exactly amazing at flawless blocking things, you can get a push block attack. This is true damage, 70 damage that is guaranteed if the opponent is stuck in something they cannot block, and this can end a round. So if you have 2 bars of meter and half of your cameo gauge, and they've done something that you can flawless block, you can punish, and it can win the game for you. It's not like they have this magic pixel remaining. If they don't have 70 health left, this will win you the game, no matter what. And it works on any flawless block. The most simple way, I suppose, is to just do it fresh off your flawless block. PND Ketchup with the world's greatest execution. Standard flawless blocks are quite decent for this, but there's actually a trick here where if you flawless block something, but you're still blocking, you can actually do the push block, which is forward cameo, a little bit later. So if I try and block this first hit, I'll have to get the timing. You can still push block. Look at that. And that's not bad. Makes the whole thing a little bit easier for you, especially if you're blocking something like a Raiden Storm Cell or whatever. You don't have to do the push block on the individual attack. I'm not very good at demonstrating this live because, like I said, not the greatest in the world at flawless blocking things, but it works really well. It means that you can block an early hit, wait, and then just easily on reaction punish them. But yeah, that's the general short of the flawless block push block that Mavado has. There's a couple of tricks to it, and overall, not the most reliable because it's very expensive, but should you be in an almost checkmate scenario with the opponent, you can do this and win the game just for blocking something. So that's not terrible. Alright, so let's talk about another attack that Mavado has, the low slide. Down and cameo while the opponent is being knocked on the floor in any variety, and this slide will connect. Looks kind of underwhelming at first glance, doesn't it? But this is actually one of the cheapest moves that Mavado has access to. There's a couple of layers to this. If I set the opponent to not block, if they're not blocking, this will just do 60 damage. It's an unscaled 60 damage. I can do whatever combo I want, right? If they're not blocking, that will just chuck on an extra 60 and it just hits them. It's an OTG. It's a true OTG. However, as you may have noticed at the beginning of this clip, the opponent can block. And to be honest, I kind of think this move is a lot more cheap if they block. For a number of reasons. The first is that when the opponent's on the floor, this comes out on block. It still does just shy of 20 chip, but it is very plus on block. Just doing it here plus 27, and it can be plus 30, it can be slightly less, it can be slightly more. It depends on, how long it takes to travel and how late Mavado hits them. There it was plus 40 apparently. Not that I completely trust the frame data counter, but my point is, an OTG that forces the opponent to stand, which will eliminate wake-up attacks, so you don't have to worry about wake-ups, and is so plus that it guarantees another sequence from the aggressor. So if I knock the opponent on the floor, this is plus, and all of a sudden I get another turn. That could be a throw, that could be an overhead low if your character has that. That could be like multiple hitting attacks that can armor break perhaps, if they choose to armor later, like a Baraka 4-4, 4-4, 4-4. Like there are so many extra layers to this move, and that's not even the end of it. The fact that it's plus on block and forces stand and removes wake-ups is just the beginning. The thing about this is, this slide hits as a low. And the fact that this hits as a low means that if you have an overhead of any variety, you can create a... I'm not going to say hard to block, because that's not going to be exclusive to like every single character, right? But the fact that it's a low means that you can do things that force those instances. Knock the opponent on the floor, do some sort of overhead knowing that a low is coming, and depending on your character can create some really weird situations, especially if you can get the low to hit first, because the overhead will combo, right? So you create these really odd situations, and that's just a very basic example here showing just a neutral jump into low slide. Other characters that have grounded overheads can do this a little bit more efficiently, and I'm already seeing players do weird stuff with like Sindel or Ermac with their float attacks, and it's getting kind of cheap really quickly. So pay attention to social media or, pro players. They're probably going to be doing some of this involving a knockdown where you jump or whatever else, do the low, do an overhead, and it gets kind of cheap real quick. So pay attention to that. And the final move that Mavado has is a 2-bar of the cameo, but it's a low mine. I say low mine because he throws it low. It is a mid. It's not a low hitting attack. Thank goodness. That would have been absolutely insane for a lot of characters. But it is an ambush. Considering it costs both cameo meters, the cooldown really isn't that bad, and because a lot of the other moves involve half of the cameo gauge, you only really need one to do something good. So, the second this is back after using a mine, all of a sudden now I can start doing my combos again. Mistimed it, and Mavado went flying, and it looks hilarious. But you get my point. Like, the cooldown really isn't that terrible for this cameo, because there's no substantial delay when he starts to use a move. You don't have to wait forever for it to even start coming back, like a Goro or a Sector missile or something similar. All you need is half a bar, and you can start doing some good damage and getting some nice confirms. So, it's really nice. But let's talk about this mine a little bit more. This is a recapture, and animation-wise, their feet are not on the ground. It's very similar to like a Rain's charged back forward 1, or a Darius flip, or whatever else. A Kung Lao EX head grab, I think, is very similar too, where they're on the floor, but it's not a grounded combo, right? Like, you've seen that kind of attack before. But you can still get combos. Should this connect, you can still get various launches, depending on your character, of course. This is a character-by-character situation. But there are already so many applications to this mine that makes it really strong. The first is that almost every character in the game gets a grab combo, right? Every character. I mean, I think it's going to be even more rare to find a character that cannot throw the mine and do a throw and get a combo from this, to be honest. I think most characters can do it. And this will also work for forward throw. So it will come out regardless. If you time it correctly, I mean, there's not even going to be a window to tech, because if they tech, the mine is still going to hit them. So, if you do it late like that, you're still going to get the stun. Most characters in general, and again, I will say most, not all, you can even combo from your sweep here. Like, you'll notice there, I did my sweep. If some characters have an unseeable overhead that normally doesn't result in much, now you can just do it from the mine and get a full combo. So some characters genuinely get 3-way mix-ups from this mine. They can do low sweep, they can do an overhead should they have one, or they can do a throw. Now the throw obviously is going to scale, so that's just the nature of grab combos. They do scale quite heavily, so if it ends around, great. If not, maybe not worth it. Depends on the damage, depends on the situation that you want. But this mine is integral to some of the really cheap stuff, because you can use it whenever you want. It doesn't matter. You can do any kind of combo and then call in this mine and then turn it into a stun. Scorpion is not going to be doing that, right? He's going to be doing different combos, but I'm just demonstrating the idea. This mine is already leading to some really cheap stuff, and I'll be showing that a little bit later in the video. So the first character and cameo pairing I want to show is Kenshi, because this could be kind of good. Let's start off with a simple reverse throw. Throw the mine right as they get hit. It's a free Sento sandwich. Because I hit a throw. Just a basic reverse throw. Like, let me do that again. Right as it hits them, tap cameo. Sento, launch. The sandwich begins, and you might have just won the round on that. Like, genuinely, you might have just won the round on that alone, because you hit one grab. Remember that with Kenshi, it's not about how much cameo gauge you spend on something. It doesn't matter if you're spending cameo to do things. As long as it leads to the Sento situation, that is the end goal. And that is something that Mavado is already doing to a ridiculous degree, because if you hit a single throw here, you might have just won the round, because now that's it. You can do even more than that if you want. You can do a proper combo. I don't play Kenshi, so I don't know those combos, but my point is that it is that easy to get started, and that's just one element. Now this one's a bit tricky because, again, I don't play Kenshi and it's a bit fiddly at first. However, oh, never mind, I got it first try. So, stuff like that as well. Stuff like that. Being able to essentially do a launch. You do the input of standing for up cameo, but standing for up cameo that you quickly special cancel into Sento. And that kind of combo perfectly pieces together. That's pretty much the idea, is that you're going for some sort of launch from back forward 3. You're doing a standing 4 into up cameo, but you're kind of special cancelling up cameo, then into down back 1. And then just doing 4, down back 4. You can probably go for a bigger combo, but the general idea here is that you're doing something like that. And as long as you are immediately activating the ender to that combo, you've got the sandwich on deck where you can start to do all the crazy Sento stuff. So these are the two big reasons already that this cameo pairing is working for Kenshi, but it's not just that, because should you be in a situation where you have no Sento stance active, but you do find yourself stuck in the sword mode like this, your overhead becomes a full combo because you get this. This launches anyway, so you haven't really got to worry about the low. Should the unreactable overhead hit, you know, you've got a combo from that as well. So the general idea of Kenshi is that this team creates a really scary situation off of basically nothing. Kung Lao is probably the most self-explanatory example of the characters I'm showing today, because it is simply another good pairing for Kung Lao, right? The first thing, obviously, is that should you hit his armored launcher, it's a launcher because you can throw Mavado on the end of it, and the combo and the execution is very easy. So if I just do armor, up cameo. We've all seen these combos from Kung Lao before, and they work just as effectively here, and with the added utility of not actually wasting Mavado should it not connect. Remember, Mavado only comes out on hit, so if you're doing his armor, it's just not going to come out if they block the armor. So if it hits, Mavado comes out, you can get yourself a full combo. So it works really, really well for him. That is definitely the most layer 1, because it's simple. You hit your armor, you call in Mavado, you launch, you get damage. It's as simple as that, but it's really effective. It is, of course, not just the armor that you can benefit from, it is actually the fact that Kung Lao gets kind of a 3-way mix-up here from the mine. Should you drop the mine, Kung Lao has his overhead, which is very hard to react to, and most people can't, to be honest. You can go for a low, also unseeable, so that's overhead low, and, of course, a throw. All of these, when paired with Mavado's mine, will be a full combo. And how you would max out the damage, I mean, that's up to Kung Lao players. I certainly don't play this character, but the idea is quite simple. End some sort of combo, call in the mine, land a hit, and there you go. You've got decent damage for what is very much a 3-way mix-up. That combo would be exactly the same for the low. So if I were to do mine into low, back off to make the first hit whiff, it kind of just gives you an extra hit to work with at the end of the combo, which ultimately leads in more damage. And again, that's a simple application, but something that works incredibly well for Kung Lao. You can definitely go for other combos with this character. I don't know how much you would extend and what kind of B&Bs you'd go for, but the core of going for a mix-up from the mine, which becomes completely safe, as the mine will make anything safe that you do, and the fact that his armor becomes big damage is overall a win-win for Kung Lao. Okay, let's talk about Havoc for a second, a character that you really don't see much, and truth be told, it's because he is one of the weaker characters. There's just not as much going on for him, but Mavado gives him quite a lot of extra utility, and although Mavado takes away HP, Havoc has more than most characters anyway, so you still become a 1000 HP character. The thing about this is that the tether is massively expanded upon because of the low slide that you have. So the low Havoc slide makes it much scarier, and you get combos off much more things. The first thing to talk about is that back 224 now gets a full combo attached to it. What kind of combo you want to go for is up to you. This is just a really basic example, and that's 276, not bad at all, especially seeing as the cameo recharge for Mavado really isn't that bad in the grand scheme of things. But it's not just back 224 that you can combo from, it's a sweep. Sweep becomes a full combo. You can do sweep into the same sort of ender that I just talked about. You can do the up version too. You have to time this a little bit differently to make sure that Havoc isn't still sort of recovering from his sweep while he's doing it. If you do it too quickly, he might still be recovering and you can't get as much. But just as a basic idea, you can do sweep, late up cameo, and then, you know, back 2-2 into whatever you want. You could do the roll if you want to do that instead. You can set that up into the 2-bar tether. So you're getting full combos for things that normally just knock them on the floor. The back 2-2 becomes on its own a lot scarier, because back 2-2 grab and back 2-2 low, that kind of is the built-in mix-up because you can neutral duck the throw. You actually now get a full combo off of both versions. So if I do back 2-2-4 and a cameo, I can turn that into a combo. If I have full cameo gauge and I hit the throw, I can throw the mine and turn that into a full combo. Into whatever ender you want. I'm sure the down back 4 doesn't work there, but I don't play Havoc. This has been more of a mustard experiment. He's been playing a lot of Havoc and Mavado to try and find some cool stuff, and I'm emulating just some really basic demonstration stuff for the sake of this video. So the back 2-2 gives you a combo on both the throw and the low. And that's really useful for Havoc, because it's just damage off both sides of his mix-up, which either you would have to pick a specific cameo just for one of them, or you can't really get much from his throw. Mavado is now giving you a combo from both of them. The fact that sweep combos is also very strong for Havoc, because his sweep is quite, I don't want to say disjointed, because it is attached to him, but it has a lot of range, right? So being able to get more combos from his sweep is generally quite useful. Being able to get, you know, a grab into a mine is good for Havoc as well, because just a raw throw into a full combo is great anyway. It will scale because it is a throw combo at the end of the day. But it's not just these things. The combo extensions go beyond. You know, when you land one of his hit confirmable strings into the back forward 1 launcher, most of the time you would have to do launcher into roll, and that's like kind of all you can do. There's not a lot of freedom there. Again, without specific cameos, it's very difficult to do that. Whereas now with Havoc, you can do any launch, use the Mavado to extend it, and then you get more damage than you did before. So a really basic combo is, let's say you've just hit the back forward 1. The trick to getting this is to do your down back 1, and then you call Mavado just a little bit later. You don't want to call Mavado at the same time, because you won't have enough time to actually get the juggle to work. Whereas if you call Mavado slightly after you've done down back 1, it becomes a lot easier. You have to keep in mind the height for these kind of things, because if they're too low, either Mavado just won't come out at all, or he'll just miss them. So having a mind for catching them nice and high up in the air is generally quite useful. The tether side of things is where he gets incredibly cheap, and it's pretty scary. It does scale, of course, but Havoc is building a lot more meter because he's doing more combos than he could before. So that on its own is actually going to build more meter for Havoc. He's going to be doing back forward 1, he's going to be doing back forward 3. All of this is building meter for Havoc just normally. So when you're spending meter on the tether, using the slide can create very cheap sequences. So let's just say I do tether to set up the unblockable. I slide here to eliminate wake up. Against some characters, if not a lot of them, that kind of idea leads to a near guaranteed snap. And that is pretty damn decent, because it's not going to completely annihilate a health bar, but it's going to constantly keep that threat going. Once Havoc lands any kind of knockdown, he can now just eliminate your wake-up attack, B+ on block, jail into one of his mids, and it allows him to meaty with pressure that he otherwise couldn't do before. This low slide genuinely unlocks quite a significant amount of Havoc's game plan. The tether expands so much because of Mavado, so let's just go for a basic combo here using the Mavado. Not too bad damage at all. Low slide, next snap, and then we can go in for some more. So it's not going to shred life bars, and rest assured, I don't main Havoc, so I don't really have optimal combos by any stretch, but it is the combination of larger combos and then getting any knockdown that you go into this slide with that just continues the pressure, continues the turn that Havoc normally has. And these things, when combined, make for a pretty scary character who can get a lot of different combos from a lot of different situations he couldn't do before, and add the tether more to his game plan because the low slide has ways to make it nearly completely guaranteed. It leads to a character that's much more aggressive, can be a lot more creative with how often you go for tether, and get more damage for your combos. There's so much more to this character and this team in particular, but I can't fit it all into one video. That's going to be more of a mustard thing, I'm sure. Okay, I'm going to have to be real for a minute. I had already recorded the Raiden portion of this video, and then I went and found way more stuff. Let me show you just how ridiculous Raiden and Mavado is. First of all, forward 4, 3, 4, right? This normally does not launch. With Mavado, it does. Full combo, please. I want that. So, right. Immediately, there is a risk-free launcher. And of course, like the other ambushes, you can extend it again for more damage. So immediately, forward 4, on its own, without needing to really confirm anything, because this only comes out on hit, you now have a full launcher from your forward 4. His back 2 is a full combo thanks to the mine. Not too bad damage for something that doesn't have a super slow cooldown either. So, very similar to Lao, Raiden gets a 3-way mix-up. Sweet. Overhead. Grab if you want to do it now. Or, if you want to go for a throw, Raiden can do something like this. Double electricity. It scales, but he's getting more damage off his grab combo than most with the mine. And that's just the beginning of everything. We've talked about the 3-way mix-up. We've talked about the fact that this is a risk-free launcher that he can just get whenever he wants. Everything else launches as well. And this is where things get really, really cool. So, forward 2, 2, 4, launcher. Down back 3, the storm cell, launcher. I mean, basically, you name it, he's launching from it. Every single move he has, it seems, actually gives him launching potential, which a character with already decent buttons, decent strings, I haven't even tried this one. Let's do 1, 2, 3. Does that work? Oh yeah, sure. Why not? That's the one string I didn't test, and even that bloody worked. Like, is there anything he has that Mavado does not turn into a full combo? And look at the damage too. That's like so good for the fact that any single touch he has is giving you some sort of combo. If you want to play combo heavy Raiden and you liked playing Raiden Jax or other cameos that were all about going shocker into launch, into extensions, Mavado gives that to you, but off everything, absolutely everything. Normally you would have to confirm, right? You'd have to go either EX Shocker and then you do the forward 3-4 or whatever else. These kind of combos are the ones that you're used to seeing. Mavado just kind of cuts out the middleman in that respect, and you launch immediately off almost every string. And I haven't even shown you everything. If you want to go for EX down back 2, for example, you can launch from that. Here's a thing you can launch from. You ever hit someone with a fully charged, like, projectile? I want a combo. Yeah, thanks. Give me a combo for that, please. Oh, we're full screen. Maybe I can't do anything from that. Let me just, mash, and then that. Yeah, we just... What? God! Look, all I'm saying is, I think Raiden and Mavado could be quite good. I didn't even show you, right? I didn't even show you. You've got knockdowns. Low overhead, right? That's not super, super tight, but it exists. You can go for a knockdown. You've just got all kinds of weird stuff that you can play with. I like this. In fact, I think I'm going to play it a fair amount. So overall, I mean, Mavado is all about the extensions, being able to give like more combo pathing, more options than normally are available for some characters. I mean, Sub-Zero definitely isn't going to be like the main user of this. I'm just doing some combos just because they're fun to do. And it's nice to get combos from things that otherwise don't normally launch, you know? I'm a bit of a lab monster, so I like finding this stuff, but most of the cameos that will greatly benefit from this are where the combos are so much bigger because of what Mavado is providing. And then if you're able to get extra utility thanks to your OTG slide, whether it's going to set up for weird overhead low situations, low overhead, just taking the plus frames and getting your turn, I'm kind of excited to see what Mavado can do in the long run. You know, what kind of characters can really extend their damage? What kind of characters now have access to more strings that all of a sudden they're doing way more damage than they ever did before? Like, there are so many questions tied to, can I get more damage with Mavado than any of the other cameos because now my entire kit is resulting in full combos? So I guess that's a conversation for another time, and only time will tell. I'd definitely like to say thank you so much for watching this video. It might be a bit of a long one because there's just a lot of tech and there's a lot of stuff that people are currently doing at the moment. And Mavado, I mean, a new cameo means there's plenty more ways to use a character that you might not have considered. So take care of yourselves. Let me know what character you are pairing with Mavado, and I will see you next time. Take care and goodbye.